there, and hello, and good morning, and also hello, at wherever you are, whatever time zone it's good morning for me. So I'm saying good morning and welcome to a special edition of the Mr. Warren Hayes Show, Saturday mornings. You know what that means. I'm not trying to be cute here, but you really do know what that means if you hang around here on youtube.com/MrWarrenHayes. If you follow what I do, that means that we are about to jump into a prediction show because there's a big pay-per-view this weekend. Just happens to be AEW Revolution 2021, and per usual, as per ordained by the spirits, I am joined this morning by a gentleman, a true to form gentleman. I mean, you know, if you look up, you take a book, a dictionary book, and you open it up and you turn to gentleman, you'll see two pictures: Oscar Wilde and Chris Spizak, aka Speez of the Speez and the Benchmark Show, who's joining me this morning. Speez, it's so good to have you back. Welcome once again to the Mr. Warren Hayes Show. It's been too long. Thank you, Mr. Warren Hayes. It's good to be here, man. I'm me and Oscar Wilde. That's good company. I mean, you're exactly on the same level. Like, to me, you know, I've read your poetry on top of that, man. It's Somebody tell my wife. I've been trying to tell her that thing. Hey, listen, I got a question for you, Warren Hayes. Okay. Well, I'm going to save that question for later. I'm happy to be here, man. I'm going to be honest with you. I'm usually not up this early. It's 10 o'clock my time. Correct. Here on Saturday. And I got the, I don't know if you're aware of this, but I got the sleep apnea. Oh, really? No, I didn't know that. That sucks. Yeah, it sucks. Let me tell you. And I went and had the surgery. You know, I had the surgery to open up my nasal passages, and that helped a little bit. But then, you know, they sent me to the sleep guy, and I got one of those pap smear machines, or whatever, the CPAP machines, what the hell, that thing. And, you know, but it doesn't help, so I don't sleep. So it's very rare that I'm up this early on a Saturday. There's very few people that can get me up this early on a Saturday. It's like my mother, my wife, and Mr. Warren Hayes. So here I am. And Oscar Wilde. Happy to be here. And I've got my Warren Hayes shirt on. Are you still selling the shirts? Holy shit! You're like one of the 3 people who bought one. My God. Of course I did. What the hell's the matter with you people in the chat not buying a Warren Hayes shirt? Look at that. And I hadn't noticed, and we've been talking, and I hadn't noticed because of the microphone, because of the boom. Look at it. This is a fun shirt, you guys. Come on. That's a good shirt, you guys. That's a great shirt. So anyway. Well, I'm really glad to have you. I'm really glad to have you this morning, Chris. And before we popped on live, we were chatting. I mean, we haven't shared a common podcasting space in such a long time. Just in case people don't know exactly who you are, why don't you run us through who are you? What is the Speez and the Benchmark Show? What that stuff is all about? So I started helping out with a wrestling promotion out here in Katy, Texas, which is just on the west side of Houston. Yeah, you're a ref. Here. I was a referee. At the time, I was doing the audio visual, helping those guys out. And I ran into a guy named Silky Baines, the benchmark of professional wrestling, as he's known. And, you know, he and I hit it off really well. I'd always been wanting to do a podcast. And so I was like, hey, let's do the wrestling podcast thing. So for the past 2.5 years or so, actually, it's been 3 years because we started as just a podcast, and then we started doing the live streaming thing. But it's been me and Silky, and we do a show every Tuesday night and Friday night, 9 p.m. Central Time. That's 10 o'clock for those of you in the Eastern Time Zone. Over on Twitch, twitch.tv/SpeezBenchmark. And yeah, we talk all things wrestling. Silky being a wrestler for, you know, a good, 15 years now. Wrestled for Booker T's promotion down here in Houston. You know, got all the way to having the tryout at Monday Night Raw at one point. And so he's a very knowledgeable guy. And I'm basically here to do the tech stuff and, you know, look silly because Silky's the star of the show. Oh, so that's what I do. And, you know, it's enjoyable. We have a lot of fun. We do have a lot of fun. We really do. And I've said it before. And here's the thing. You know, I don't want to spend like hours on nostalgia and stuff like that. But what is it? 3 years-ish ago when I started my podcast,
Speez started up at the same time. You know, there was a bunch of us who started around at the same time. You know, Smart to Death, No Particular Angle. There was a bunch of us who had all started up around at the same time, and started chatting with Speez on a couple of occasions. We hit it off, and he has such a great show, and I'm so glad that you guys are still around doing this, because there's a bunch of people who've dropped off. You're an OG, man. To me, you're an OG.
What's up with that? I don't understand that. Now, all of a sudden, you know, it's like the wrestling podcasting blew up when AEW showed up, and everybody was fired up about it. And then most of those people are like, I'm not really feeling it so much anymore. Yeah, I'm going to do something else.
Fair weather fans.
Yeah, what kind of shit is that? Can I say shit on your show, by the way?
You can say shit. You can say poop.
Okay.
There's a lot of things you can say. Yes, absolutely, of course.
Just making sure. I don't want to offend the Flow Man and Mark and Scott and Tomas, all of you guys in the chat. Welcome. Glad to have you here.
Yeah,
Here's Stone Cold right there saying hell yeah. Is that coming through on your end?
It's not coming through.
Oh, okay, well, that was somebody subscribing to my Twitch channel. Probably because they're watching you here and saying, hey, I need to go subscribe to these guys. So thank you guys for that.
There you go. You got it. You have to head on over. You do that. Chris is the draw regardless. But yes. Yeah, and you see, this is what happens when you have two hosts, right? This is what happens when you have two hosts. Because Chris is like, hey, everyone, we hello to so-and-so. Because that's usually what I do. I say hello to people who are joining us in the chat, like Tomas, like Scott Frame, how you doing? Like Mark Boutte, how you doing, Mark? We've also got Flow Man and Jamie Small. Yes, and you see everyone's enjoying the poop talk. So
is Mark's last name pronounced Boutte? Because that would be tremendous.
Well, I think there's a couple of ways you can pronounce it, yes. I think Boutte...
Pardon
me?
I don't know. I don't know if it's Boutte or Boutette, but other way. Hey, Mark, we're digging your name. You're welcome here anytime, especially with that kind of name.
You are welcome here anytime, Mark. That's not a problem. So thank you all for joining us this morning. If you're here, you guys know the routine as well. If you're watching live right now, give the video a thumbs up. That stuff always helps. And then you can pop by after when we're done as well if you want to join in the conversation in the comments as well. That's fantastic. I'm going for a comment streak, 10 comments on the next 10 videos, and I'll do something special, something unique. So comments aren't activated right now. They're not activated during the live streams, but once we're done, however, boy, I'm expecting to see all of you back. It's just
10 comments, nothing. Come on, people. What are we doing? You got 1.4 thousand subscribers on the YouTubes, Warren. You're blowing up, buddy. Big time. I like to see it.
Thank you, man. I appreciate it. Thank you very much. AEW. And again, this is something that we were talking about before we got on the air. You and I haven't talked like on the air about AEW at all since it started. That's how long we haven't been in each other's shit. You were our NXT guy.
Yeah. Because you were doing the NXT show with Fightful, I think, at the time. Are you still doing the NXT show with Fightful?
No. We're done with that.
Well, you were doing it at the time,
yes.
And we were like, hey, we need an excuse to have Warren Hayes on the show. So you would always come and do the NXT talk. But yeah, we haven't got, because you got busy. You got too big for us is what it was, Warren.
No, oh, bullshit.
We've always been here, you know, but oh no, Warren Hayes. And I don't say that's a bad thing. That's a good thing, Warren. You're everywhere.
I have the receipts. I have the DMs where I'm like, hey, how you doing, Chris? Anytime you want to have me on, shoot me a DM. Sure, Warren. Because that's your voice when you type. That's how you sound like, sure, Warren. The open door, and he never writes. Like he's like my son. It's like my son. I have to reach out to him to get some news. Jesus.
Anyway.
But yes, absolutely.
I know what I was going to ask you, by the way. How come Canadians say a boot? You're from Canada.
What's that? A boot? No. Okay, here's the thing. We're going to get this out of the way.
A boot or a boat? There's a U in there. It's an OU.
It's first and foremost.
You say I'm going oot to dinner?
Have you ever have you ever heard me say a boot?
I've never heard you say a boot. I've been listening for it the first half of the show to see if you ever say the word about, so I can see if you say it properly, but we haven't come to that yet, so I figured I'd just go ahead and ask.
It's something a little more regional. You'd find that more out out west. Like once you hit the prairies, I don't know if you know what the prairie provinces are. They're Manitoba, Saskatchewan, and Alberta. Once you
Who doesn't know that?
What's that?
Who doesn't know that?
Well, there you go. Well, because I know Americans in geography. So when you when you get more out west, especially in more rural areas of the country, it's more like that. It's more like it's a regional accent, a little something. I would say most people do not say a boot. It's around here. I've never heard anyone say a boot. You'll hear some variants, maybe about, but a boot. Not
fair enough. I'm from Texas, so everybody thinks that we talk like a bunch of shit kickers down here. And hey, howdy, y'all. How's everybody going? Oh, all that kind of shit. Ted wants to know how come Canadians say sorry instead of sorry. Is that another one? Is that another regional one?
I'm sorry. Look, we apologize a lot. It doesn't matter how we pronounce it. We apologize quite a bit. So it really doesn't matter how we say it.
Fair enough. What are we doing here? It's your show, Warren Hayes.
Okay, so AEW. We're into how do you feel about it so far, Chris? How do you like I said, we're not necessarily going to retro and go all the way back and go into the minute details, but it's been we're heading into a year and a half now at this point of the existence of the company. How do you feel about it so far?
Yeah, it's been hit and miss, to be honest with you. I mean, there's some stuff that I really enjoy. There's some guys I really enjoy. And there's, I'm not a fan of the hokiness. I feel like I get enough hokiness watching WWE.
Yeah.
So, I don't want somebody who's going to do an alternate version of WWE. I was somebody who's going to do an alternate version of pro wrestling.
Mm-hmm.
And I think there are some guys that when you watch them, you're going to get good shit. You watch Cody, you're going to get something good all the time. There's other guys. I'm a huge Pac guy. I don't know why they're not pushing that guy for crying out loud. We'll get into that later on. But he's tremendous.
Oh.
There's something on that show for everybody. And, I think that it'd be nice to see them. I feel like a lot of their focus is on the niche audience, especially, and we'll talk about this when we get to the women, like the women's division, especially. I feel like it could be a bit more, I don't know. I think it says something that the audience has kind of flatlined. It's been the same. And that's you say the same for NXT and everybody else. That's just where it is nowadays. But no, look, the fact that they've been around as long as they have, TNT obviously loves what they're doing. They signed up to a long extension. So I'm not going to complain about more wrestling to watch. That's always a good thing in my opinion.
No, I agree. I mean, right then and there, I think you've got the basic concept there is that if we get more national wrestling with some, world-class stars, right, with some people who are ready and primed to go, there's nothing to complain about. And see, this is where I've maybe it's hopes and dreams, and maybe they're not just living up to my lofty expectations, but in general they are. Like, I've enjoyed the product quite a bit, if only because they do focus a lot more on wrestling than the other company, which will give us promos and packages and this happened 5 minutes ago all the time. Whereas when you tune into Dynamite on Wednesday nights, they start off with a match. It's like, yeah. Oh, right. You can start a wrestling show with people fighting.
Wrestling. Who'd have thunk it? Yeah, exactly.
So there's a lot of good that and stuff that I appreciate, and me as well. They kind of lose me when they start getting a little too when they start trying to be, well, you said hokey, I say cutesy, when they try a little too much on those angles, right? And I understand that they're trying to appeal to that kind of audience as well. They're trying to appeal to a whole bunch of people at the same time, by trying to mix and match, different styles. Some matches feel a little more like what they do on the indies. Then you've got these crazy brawls that I find that they're particularly good at. So there's you know, I can understand that it can be a mixed bag for people because they're firing all over the place. But you know, I think as things go, give him another few months. You know, and I feel like they're even recently. I feel like they're throwing less stuff at the wall, trying to see what sticks. And now I think they're sticking with what sticks instead of just like constantly trying stuff out. You know.
Yeah, and they've expanded the roster. You know, they were really thin early on, and we started to see, you know, a lot of the same matchups and the same guys week to week. And now that they've, you know, the roster's grown, you know, you can finally ask yourself, how come they're not pushing a guy like Pac? Because, you know, they have enough guys now to where some guys are going to fall through the cracks. So it took them a little time. I think they're still finding their footing. I think it's an inconsistent show, you know, in that there's some guys that clearly take things very seriously, and there's some guys that, you know, do more of the cutesy stuff, as you said. You know, but that will work itself out. You know, again, it's a national wrestling product that's you know, and that's good for everybody.
I agree. I want to say hello to Ted and All Love here, as well as Jamie Small. Welcome to the chat this morning. So we're heading into Revolution. It's a big one. Revolution last year was probably one of the best shows put on by a wrestling company last year, at least in my humble opinion.
Yeah, and who got the biggest pop in that show?
Hangman Page.
It was Pac.
Oh, right.
It was the Pac match that got the biggest pop. I don't even remember who he fought, but he was tremendous, and the crowd was going wild for his match. Okay, maybe it was Orange Cassidy in the match, but that's neither here nor there. Pac was in the match. And now he's buried in some tag team tournament. When are we going to push that guy, for crying out loud? He's awesome.
Well, we're going to get to the tag team Casino Royale in a second, but we're going to start by talking about the first match which is going to be on the pre-show. Riho and Thunder Rosa versus Dr. Britt Baker DMD, and was supposed to be Reba Rebel, but apparently she might not be around, and we're expecting a new partner for Britt Baker. But this is the match that we have. Maybe we'll talk about the tournament once we get to the actual payoff of the tournament a little later on in this broadcast. But yeah, Riho, Thunder Rosa, Britt Baker. Riho recently returning. Britt Baker she's been absolutely amazing, and Thunder Rosa has just rounded out the women's division so needfully. What do you think about all of this, about this match?
I'll tell you a quick aside. You know, Silky and I had the good fortune, because Silky knows a lot of wrestlers, and you know, one of the guys that we got in touch with was Cheeseburger. Do you know, are you familiar with this Cheeseburger from Ring of Honor? The super skinny guy, big tall skinny guy.
Yes.
Cheeseburger. They were doing a show, and this was like 3 years ago now. They were doing a Ring of Honor show up in San Antonio, which is about a 2.5 hour drive from where we are. And they were looking people to, you know, work ring crew. Okay. And so we got to go up there and work the show, me and Silky. And that was when Cody and the Bucks were there, and Hangman was there and all that. So this was like prime Ring of Honor time. And there were two people that got over with me to the point to where I will root for them until their careers are over. And one of them was Thunder Rosa. She is absolutely delightful. Just a delightful human being. We got to chat with her a little bit in the backstage, and then we were walking around. You know, we went to go get something to eat, and she's walking around the streets of San Antonio, and she sees us across the street and waves. You know, she's a total sweetheart. I love Thunder Rosa. She's tremendous. I was pulling for her in the tournament. I was hoping that she would actually win the thing, but she didn't. But yeah, look, Thunder Rosa is great, and what a total 180 for Britt Baker.
Oh my God.
You know, I mean, she was, God bless her, she just was not very good when she started.
No.
And the whole babyface thing wasn't working out at all. And then she got her face busted up, came back as a heel, and started ripping on Tony Schiavone. And next thing you know, she's entertaining as hell. She's come a long way, aside from the tooth and nail debacle thing. Well, what did you think of the tooth and nail match? Not to go back in time too much.
Oh no, that was bad.
Okay.
I don't think we have to. It wasn't good. Here's what we have to. You know, I'm always gonna give props to AEW in their earliest in the early formative months of the company, first year, to have pivoted on stuff that didn't work. You know, we're used to WWE, let's just name them, presenting us something and it's not getting over or it's not working how they want, but they're going to keep pushing it down our throats, right?
You will like it eventually.
Yeah, it's like
you're saying you will like it.
You're going to like it, pal. You know, that's exactly what he says right in the background. We had Britt Baker, who they were positioning to be the face of the women's division, babyface, smiling, the dentist shit. It was not working. What did they do? Heel turn. Completely reinvented her. Yeah. Hangman Adam Page, they were pushing him as a big time, you know, let's not forget, first challenger for the AEW, the first contender along with Chris Jericho for the AEW world title. He wasn't getting over as a top guy. What did they do? Brought him down a little, gave him another perspective. Dark Order is another fantastic example. When that started, everyone was like, man, this shit is so bad. The Nightmare Family, they put the kibosh on. Not the Nightmare Family, Nightmare Collective.
Nightmare Collective, yes.
They put the kibosh on that. So at least, you know, they're able to see, okay, this stuff is not working. Let's try and flip it. And by God, if Britt Baker hasn't done the absolute best with what she was given, she's an absolute natural as a heel, and even her heel work in the ring fits her much more than babyface offense. She's so good at it, and I think that despite the fact that she's a heel now, I think she is the face of the women's division. Because hell, man, even when she was injured, she was on TV and she was entertaining.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I totally agree. It's one of those things, and yeah, you know. Again, you said it perfectly. Props to them for, recognizing when things aren't working. I mean, I'm not with you on the Dark Order. I still think the Dark Order is terrible. And but, I understand it's especially difficult to just trash the whole thing with what happened with Brody Lee, which is such a tragedy. I mean, we don't have to relive that. It's just terrible to even think about. But that thing, I don't understand. Now they're like babyface is trying to recruit Adam Page, and I don't get it. But, you know, for the most part, yeah, I'm with you. Basically, anything Brandy has touched, she's like the anti-Midas. It's turned to shit. You know, it's awful. So thank God they're getting that nonsense out of here. And yeah, with a couple of characters, you know, it hasn't worked out for them, and they flipped them around, and they found a way to make it work. So good for them. Yeah.
And then we have Rio coming back, which I think I think Riho returning was a big deal, and I still think it's a big deal. I'm really happy she's back. You know, the first women's champion. I think it's good for them. So who do you think is going to win in this match here? Do you have Rio and Thunder Rosa, or Britt Baker and her mystery partner?
Well, you know, I'm going to pick Thunder Rosa and Riho just because I told you, I'm always going for Thunder Rosa. I got to go with my heart here because Thunder Rosa is a doll, and I love her, and she's great, and I hope she wins. Look, I got to ask you, Warren Hayes. God dang it. Look, Riho, help make me understand the Riho thing. I don't understand. She's so tiny. Yes. She's so tiny, and she has these matches where she's like unstoppable. She's Road Warrior Riho. She kicks out of everything and somehow finds a way to win. And she's like 95 pounds. What is it? What is the thing that I'm missing with Riho? Make me understand this.
You and JR both, right? Neither of you understand.
I don't get it. I'm already the heel in the chat because apparently talking blasphemy about the Dark Order. I didn't realize it was a Dark Order friendly chat here. Tomas and the Float Man who say that I'm not allowed to talk trash about the Dark Order.
No, everyone's a
gimmick, and it's not over, so stop it already. Get rid of it and give them something else to do. But Rio's 95 pounds, Warren Hayes. What is happening here?
Listen, I maybe it's because I watch. I'm used to watching, and again, like I don't watch stuff like, let's say, Stardom or Choco Pro like on the reg, but I do watch some Joshi wrestling. So maybe to me, seeing smaller women beating the shit out of each other. I'm like, yeah, to me this is fine. This works, you know. Of course,
it's fine.
It's okay.
They'll be all right.
Like, I don't see the big, because here's the thing, and I think this'll because the thing is that I can completely understand why you and other people can be like, I can't buy into Rio. I completely get it. I honestly, I do. Because especially, and I think it's especially true with us older guys and gals who have been watching wrestling for a very long time and remember an era where kayfabe wasn't as transparent, let's put it that way, and where it really was like simulated combat, where it's like, you know, you're supposed to have two people, you know, have a simulated fight with each other, and there was a level of credibility that went into those fights. You know, it's like, yeah, Stan Hansen and Vader are going to beat the shit out of each other, and it's going to be, you know, it'll all make sense. I think that as the years evolved and changed, you know, and as wrestling has changed as well, I think we're supposed to accept a certain level of suspension of disbelief. You know, where you're sort of like, well, I know it's all pretend regardless, you know. If the matches are entertaining, ultimately, you know, I think that's what matters, you know. I really do. But like I said, like, I can understand why people might have difficulty getting into Riho. And man, I mean, especially when we're talking about WWE over the past 20 years, you know, who keep pushing, you know, big guys and keep telling us a guy like Rey Mysterio, oh, he's too small to be a world champion. And like, it's fucking right. Rey Mysterio. What are you talking about? You know, you know, they're mentalities that follow us and taint how we see things, for good or ill. You know, I'm not saying it's always a bad thing. Sometimes it's for good. And I think, you know, I think that's what it is. And, you know, it's like anything in wrestling. You either buy into it or you're not, you know.
Just like, true. And the suspension of disbelief thing for me comes in with the moves themselves. Like, I know that, I'll tell you, I've been in there, I've worked as a referee. Silky's obviously been doing it for a long time. You know, Silky's got a few war scars. He's got a finger that doesn't bend properly because he broke a finger in there. You know, he's had injuries. He has times where he's had a match and, you know, we're up on the second floor of my house and him trying to walk up the stairs is difficult. So, you know, the suspension of disbelief for me comes with that. No, these guys aren't really in there trying to kill each other. Right. But as far as the characters themselves, like, I still want to believe that what they're trying to sell me is a fight.
Sure.
And at least somewhat realistic fight. And when I see the likes of Riho in there beating Nyla Rose and superplexing Nyla Rose and shit like that, it just makes my head explode. It's just me personally. But she's teaming with Thunder Rosa, and Thunder Rosa's over with me, damn it. So it's Thunder Rosa and Riho. They get the win and the pre-show.
Oh, there you go. Want
to
say hello to
Brewski in the chat, who's a regular on our show as well. Good to see you, Bob. Sorry, I'm doing the host thing again, Warren. It's your show. Bob Aruski's here. Good to see you. Eve from the Riot Girls of Wrestling.
That's actually Dan Reed from Pro Wrestling Eve who's joining us this morning. So it's and I'm sorry, Dan. I'm sorry I didn't mention your promotion when I was talking about what you know. When I watch Josie Wrestling and stuff. Sorry, Dan. I apologize. Mea culpa. So there we go. So the Casino Tag Team Battle Royal.
Oh dear. Are you going to read all these names?
No. There's 7.
Come on, Warren. There's only like 35 tag teams in this thing.
There's 17 tag teams, I think, that are involved in this. I think every...
Hold on. I just said 34, and I was joking.
Well, there's 34 guys.
There's 17 tag teams, which means there are actually going to be 34 people in this match.
Yeah, I think so.
But if I'm doing, I like to think I'm pretty good at the maths, and I think that's correct. 34 people. And we've still got one mystery tag team that's going to show up.
I do believe so, yes. I think there's a mystery tag team that's supposed to show up. You know, maybe outside. No, I'm not going to run down all the teams, but there's 2 teams from the Dark Order. There's going to be Pac and Ray Phoenix who are going to be in here.
There's 3 Dark Order teams, if I'm not mistaken.
3 of them? Well, I know there's Silver and Reynolds. I know there's Stu and Uno.
And then there's like 5 and 10.
5 and that's right. Since 10,
Alan
that's right. Okay, since 10 lost the ladder match thing. Okay,
there you go.
Look, there's a whole bunch of people. Is the point, right? And the winner gets a future shot at the AEW World Tag Team Championship. Maybe outside of going through, I don't want to run through all the tag teams and so on and so forth. The tag team division was built to be a draw for AEW, and they have some sweet tag teams. How do you feel about the tag team division in AEW, Chris?
Yeah, like most of AEW with me, it's hit and miss. I mean, I think there are some tremendous tag teams in there. I'm a huge FTR guy. I love those guys. I think they're great. I told you before I love Pac. Now he's in this triangle, this love triangle thing. What is the death triangle thing?
I love the name. And,
and Penta. So we'll see what happens there. But yeah, it's a mixed bag for me, Warren. I'm the referee in me hates the fact that tag team matches in AEW can just devolve into just insanity where there's no rules whatsoever. Everybody's in the ring all the time. They're flying, hitting each other with everything, and they spend 10 minutes outside the ring. Yes, I am like Jim Ross's son, whoever said it in the chat, for crying out loud. But that's the referee in me. So there's it's hit and miss with me. But look, there's a lot of talent in here. Another super sweet guy, like sweet as in nice, that sat and chatted with us for a long time was Scorpio Sky. Scorpio Sky. What a great guy that guy is. But he's not in this.
He's in the ladder match.
The ladder match later on. So, but SCU is great as well. So yeah, I mean, it's certainly got its moments, but there's a lot of tag teams in here where I go, man, I could really see those guys winning, and then there's other ones where I go, I don't even know who these guys. Who are these Bear guys? Bear Country or Bear what's their name?
Bear Country.
Bear Country.
You clearly don't watch AEW Dark.
I do not watch AEW Dark.
They're a big mainstay on Dark. You're gonna like them, Chris. I think they'll be up your speed. They're like a younger, a little crazier War Machine, War Raiders, Viking Raiders.
All right, very cool.
Yeah, no, they're up my speed as far as big hoss tag teams go. But I mean, they had, and I say AEW set up the tag team division to be a draw. One of the best matches we got in 2020 and was the top of the list for a lot of people was the Young Bucks versus Kenny Omega and Hangman Page. Then we finally got the Young Bucks versus FTR as well, which was an outstanding match. They've made the tag team division feel important. They feel, tag teams feel like they have a place in AEW, and they're bringing back the what's the word I'm looking for? The art of tag team wrestling as well, which it's not just, we'll slap 2 singles guys together because we have nothing for them to do.
Yeah.
So that's something I can get behind. However, I will say this, because I know I think you're itching to talk about it. Pac in a tag team thrown into this?
I know.
Talk to me, Speez.
I don't understand it, for crying out loud. The guy looks great. He's a good promo. I won't say he's a great promo, but he's embraced the heel persona that started at the end of his WWE run. And I think he's killing it with that. He works, his shit looks stiff, I mean, it looks realistic. So if you're that kind of fan like I am, his stuff looks great. But if you like to see the high flying kind of shit as well, he could do that as well. I mean, the Black Arrow is as tremendous a high flying move as there is in all of pro wrestling. The guy's the total package. I don't understand it. I don't understand what Pac. I know there was a time when he got stuck over the, across the pond because of the pandemic and such. But now that he's back, I mean, that guy has to be a part of some kind of title picture. Even if you put him in the TNT title picture, I'd be fine with that. But he's too good to be languishing in this shit. Get him in something more important.
To me, Pac and even Ray Phoenix, I think, and I'm assuming you're not a big fan of Ray Phoenix. I don't think he's.
No, I enjoy Ray Phoenix. Okay. I mean, you know, I hearken back to when everybody was when the whole Ricochet Will Ospreay match dropped online and everybody went nuts. And, you know, it started referring to the flippy guys.
Yeah.
I remember Ricochet saying somebody made a comment about him being a flippy guy. He says, look, I'm not a flippy guy. I'm the flippy guy. That was a great comeback. I think Phoenix has taken the mantle of being the flippy guy. You can't take your eyes off him, whether you like that style or not. Mm-hmm. And that's not necessarily my cup of tea, but I'm not going to sit here and lie to you and say that I don't look at Ray Phoenix and go, holy shit, like at least a couple of times per match, because he's tremendous. But get that guy. I'm with you. I'm assuming this was going towards you saying that guy deserves to be in a singles program as well.
Oh, for sure. Absolutely. I think both of those guys are. Like, I like the idea of Death Triangle. I love the name. I think it's just corny enough. And also, you know, it's like we're trying really, really hard to be evil. I love it. You know, I think it's super villainy to me. I love the name, but because even Phoenix, I think, you know, he's a breakout. I love him. I think he's fantastic. I think sometimes he does go overboard on trying to set things up, and he's his own worst enemy, you know, as far as the spots that he sets up. Sometimes when he fucks them up, I think it's like, well, if you know, it was your fault, pal, for doing something too outrageous, you know, that's okay. But Pac, I think he's the quintessential wrestler.
Again,
I mean, you tell him, okay, time to brawl. All right. And he's gonna square up with anyone. He can fly and he can sell, Chris. He can sell like the best of them. He can sell like Leon Ruff. Like, he's amazing at every aspect of it. And yeah, he's embraced his vampire gimmick, which is how I like to call it. He's really embraced it.
He was 3 inches too short to be a megastar in the other company. That's the only thing that you can say is that, you know, he's a little on the small side when it comes to height. But that physique, my God. People in the chat saying that he still lives over in the UK and actually flies here for the shows. Is that your understanding as well? Because I can see where, you know, putting a guy like that in a major singles picture could be problematic, especially given what we're going through with this pandemic and everything. Is that I'm not familiar with where he currently resides.
I'm pretty sure he's still based in the UK, but here's the thing, and this might be the reason. And I'm speculating here, right? I'm just completely speculating. And Ted in the chat says Dolph Ziggler. He can sell like Dolph Ziggler. Ziggler's an extraordinary seller. I agree. But I think Pac he's a free spirit when it comes to wrestling. I don't know what the status of his contract is, but I think he's like, man, I need to move around. I don't want to be bogged down. The last time I was locked into a contract, I had to sit out for 18 months.
Yeah,
I couldn't do shit for 18 months. I don't want to do. Remember, when he left, when he finally could wrestle, what did he do? He hit the bricks back to his home promotion, Dragon Gate.
Did he not? Yeah.
Yeah, and he hung out there for a while doing a couple of indie shows. Then, oh yeah, I'm popping up on AEW, but I think that maybe, like, I don't know what his status is, but he kind of reminds me of Kota Ibushi for a while, because Kota Ibushi been working for New Japan for the longest time without an actual contract, because he's like, no, I don't want a contract. I want to move around. I want to shuffle around. And I would you blame the guy for being like, nah, I don't want to lock myself down?
No, not at all. Not at all. And I also wouldn't blame the guy for continuing to live in the UK. It's a chicken or the egg kind of thing. Is he staying in the UK because as of right now, he's not really a part of any major program. And so he figures, well, if you guys aren't going to put me at the top of the card, I'm not going to move my whole life over here to America.
Mm-hmm.
Or is AEW saying, well, if you're not going to move to America, we're not going to put you in a major, it's one of those things. I hope they figure it out, because I really honestly and truly believe that guy is an absolute superstar.
Sure.
For whatever reason, just I hearken back, and fans of the E will remember this. I think what derailed his career over there was he was set to be, I want to say it was WrestleMania 31, but I might be wrong. It might have been a later one. He was set to be in the Intercontinental Championship ladder match at WrestleMania. And I was thinking to myself, this is going to be his coming out party for the main roster people. And I don't know if you remember this, but he broke his ankle or he broke his leg, something like that, in a match against Chris Jericho just a couple weeks before Mania. And it was heartbreaking. That was the one that Zack Ryder replaced him, and Ryder ended up winning the match. But I felt like that really derailed him, because once he came back from the injury, then he was a 205 Live guy and a cruiserweight guy, and he never really ever got back to that stature again.
And in WWE, right, when that kind of thing happens, it can sour you,
Exactly.
And then it's like, that's that, and then you become the guy who broke his ankle on his big shot,
right before WrestleMania. Yeah, and I hope that doesn't happen in AEW. I hope I hope we don't look back and say, man, if only Pac had been given a shot, he could have been a big star. Hopefully they give him that shot, because I think the guy's primed and ready to be a breakout star for that company. I think he could be easily a top of the card guy and one of their go-to guys in the promotion.
Dan Reed in the chat, who's of course a promoter, so he knows stuff. He tells us, here's the thing: Pac turned down WWE many times. He didn't want to go there. Eventually they convinced him and offered him a lot of money, and he gave it a shot, and it turned out the way it did. So people don't know the story of how many times he turned down WWE. One day that story will come out. Well, it's come out here on the Mr. Warren Hayes show, featuring Christopher Spizak.
It's actually Christian.
Christian.
It's actually Spisak, but I didn't see the graphic ahead of time, and who gives a shit? It doesn't matter, because, phonetically it's all good. So, hey, can't you subscribe to your channel?
I was about to say, subscribe to the Mr. Warren Hayes channel. Do it right now if you're not already. I'd appreciate it. That's a great deal. And and remember, give the video a thumbs up. That kind of stuff also helps. So look, we're talking about Pac, but this is in the context of a casino battle royal. Who wins the battle royal in your opinion?
Pac wins it, damn it. Pac wins it because he's tremendous.
Here's what I'm going to say.
I'm picking with my heart through this whole show, and I'm going with Pac because I love the guy. So give me Pac and Ray Phoenix because they're great.
I think SCU is going to win, because here's the one thing that I think we've all kind of forgotten. SCU, at least Frankie Kazarian and Christopher Daniels right now, are in an angle, in a little storyline, where if they lose, they split up. You remember that?
I do remember that.
So I think, I think this is inevitable, because I really do think Christopher Daniels is on the tail end of his career at this point, and he's got a role managing talent in AEW, so I think he'd be fine with that, moving forward. He's secure, is my point. I think they win the Battle Royal, they face the Bucks, they lose, they split up. I think that's what's coming. It's a good pick. I'm not going to complain about SCU winning it. No question. Everybody relax. Mr. Fantastic is in the chat. Good to see you, Mr. Fantastic. Welcome. All right, now, next match. Miro and Kip Sabian take on Orange Cassidy and Chuck Taylor. Tell me about all of this, Chris.
I tell you, is there a bigger missed opportunity thus far in AEW than Miro?
Mm-hmm.
I don't get it. I thought they were going to bring this guy in, smash him over by just having him kick the shit out of everybody and have him be a major player. I'm beginning to wonder, because, some of these WWE shows, like what's the Total Bellas?
Yeah.
Total Divas and
Total
such.
Divas, yeah, all that stuff.
Yeah, I remember seeing, because I don't watch that show, but I remember seeing one of the trailers for it where Lana and Rusev got in trouble because they were rolling around naked on the beach, And, you know, one of the backstage guys like, you can't do this, man. Like, what are you guys doing? I'm starting to wonder if maybe Miro is just an idiot. Maybe he's just really an idiot. And they're like, we can't do anything with this guy. He's a clown. And I mean, I hate to say that about the guy, but he came in to AEW and his debut, he was wearing a pink Mickey Mouse shirt. And he's been in this video game, You Broke My Arcade Game, I'm going to kick your ass, wedding thing with Penelope and Kip and so on and so forth. Miro's another guy I feel like they could just smash over, because all the outside the ring stuff aside, when you put him between the ropes, he's fucking great. Mm-hmm. He's so great. So I don't know. This Kip Sabian Miro thing doesn't do anything for me, just because I want to see Miro out there beating the crap out of people because he's a freaking animal, and I feel like he should be booked that way.
Here, you know, I'm not entirely in disagreement. I'm just like, well, look, you know, I think there's a couple of things. First of all, he comes in and he's wearing, you know, designer loungewear, and to me it's hilarious. Like, look, no, but here's the thing: it's like, at least he's coming in looking like a sports star, because you've seen guys, basketball players, football players, when they're doing these casual interviews, they're wearing $500 sweatpants, you know, and $1,000 t-shirts. So at least I'm like, well, you know, there's that. To me, I'm like, well, he's a sports guy and he has lots of money, so he's wearing $1,000 Mickey Mouse t-shirts. Because
I didn't know it was $1,000. How do they make $1,000 Mickey Mouse t-shirt?
Hey, you slap the right logo on it, man. You put the Gucci on it. There you go. You know,
exactly, because the guy's wearing like $3,000 worth of pajamas on his first show, and I'm going, well, shit. I guess I missed the boat, because I thought.
And I thought that was, you know, I'm like, okay, do I prefer that to him being an evil foreigner from an Eastern Bloc country? Like, you know, at least his personality, which we always adored in the final years of his run. You know, Rusev Day got over on the strength of his fucking charisma. WWE had nothing to do with it. That they didn't want it to get over, and yet, you know, that there it is. I will meet you here. I think it's a weird place for him to be on, but maybe this is what he wants. You know, maybe he's like, I don't want to be in, you know, all the way to the top right now. And hey, maybe Tony Khan doesn't want him there because he's like, look, all we're doing is pushing WWE guys. You know, he doesn't want that perception either. You know, he doesn't want. Let's drag a guy in from WWE, put him in the main spot, you know? If he's having a good time with it. You know, Silky and I go back and forth about this on our show, you know, because he doesn't like to see these guys like The Undertaker and Goldberg and these guys come back. And I say, look, you know, a guy like The Undertaker has earned it to where if he wants to come back, he feels like he can still go and somebody wants to let him, then who the hell am I to say, no, he shouldn't come back? I mean, he's earned his stripes. He's got the right to do it. By the same token, if a guy like Miro is happy doing what he's doing, then, you know, yeah, I'll probably bitch about it because he's not doing what I want him to do. There you go. That's fair.
We bitch about what, you know, he's not doing what I want him to do. But who am I to say that, you know, if that's his thing and that's what he enjoys, then more power to him. Personally, I feel like he could be doing more, but maybe I'm full of shit. It wouldn't be the first time to ask my wife.
Who do we got here, Miro? Chris, who do you have winning here? Miro and Sabian or Orange Cassidy and Chuck Taylor? Who gets the big W here?
You got to give it to Miro and Kip Sabian. I mean, they've been made to look like clowns by Chuck Taylor and Orange Cassidy in particular. You know, I figure that this is one for them. They got to get this victory. Although, you know, for whatever Orange Cassidy's thing is, people love that guy. They adore that guy. he gets a crowd reaction that most guys who make fun of him would kill to get.
Mm-hmm.
And, it's tough to not give that guy a W. But I think Miro's got to start getting some wins and wins in big spots. So I'm going to go with Miro and Kip Sabian here.
The thing is that Orange Cassidy, the entirety, the whole best friends thing is bulletproof in my opinion. They can take a loss here. I do believe that Kip and Miro need a victory here. So there you go. Next match that we are going to talk about is the Face of the Revolution ladder match. The winner is going to get a future shot at the AEW TNT Championship. We have Cody Rhodes, Scorpio Sky, Penta El Zero Miedo, Lance Archer, Max Caster, who just won his spot last Wednesday, defeating 10 of the Dark Order, and a mystery opponent. A lot of mysteries in at Revolution this year. A lot of stuff. A lot of questions. Oh, we got a mystery guy here, and a mystery guy here. I mean, look, this is going to be a very, very interesting ladder match.
I agree. If I'm picking biggest spot, biggest oh shit moment, it's got to be Cody. Cody's always the one getting color. Cody's the one doing backflips off of, doing moonsaults off the top of the cage. Cody has, he's going to put himself in a position to have that big moment that people remember. Mm-hmm. So I'm looking for Cody to do something completely insane in this match. I don't think he's going to win, but I think the thing that everybody's going to be talking about coming out of this is something to do with Cody. So I'm gonna make that prediction here. As far as the match itself goes, you look at it. Okay, the winner gets a shot at Darby Allin for the TNT title. So you figure, okay, well, it's probably going to be a heel then. But this is AEW. We have heels facing heels and faces facing faces and so on and so forth. And we should have talked about that at the beginning, to get your take on what you think about that. But I won't sidetrack us here. It's your show, Warren Hayes, so let's stick with it.
Appreciate it.
Listen, I'm going to go. I'm going to go with. Last night, Silky and I were doing our picks, and he picked Scorpio Sky, and it pissed me off because I was really going to pick Scorpio Sky. So since I'm here and I don't have Silky to ruin it for me, I think Scorpio Sky wins this thing because I think he's another guy that can be a really successful singles guy. He's got a great story. He's got a great backstory. He looks great. He checks all the boxes. Why the hell not? Scorpio Sky for me gets the win.
I am in complete agreement with you. I will even go as far as to say, Mr. Speezak, that our boy Sky here is going. I think he's going to have the big spot. I think this is it, because you'll remember last year they were positioning him right. They were jockeying him up. In my personal opinion, I believe that he is world title material. I think this guy has everything to be a top guy for the company. And last year they were jockeying him, they were putting him in some big matches. He was coming up short. He had a match with Chris Jericho while Jericho was champ. I think they were slowly building his credibility. Then all of a sudden, we don't see him as much. He's on Dark. He becomes, a fixture on Dark, which is fine. Keep him wrestling, keep him going, keep building himself up. And now he's on commentary last Wednesday. He's got a little heel edge to him on top of that. You're like, he's being a little cocky, a little arrogant. Okay, now they're giving him a direction. I think this is a good moment to pull the trigger on Scorpio Sky. He's going to excel in this match. Everyone's going to be nuts in this match. Lance Archer, my God, did you see the match that he had with Phoenix to qualify? Yeah. I didn't know he could do half the shit that he was doing in that match. Yeah. So I'm like, and I've seen his New Japan shit on top of this. So I'm like, I was blown away. So I'm looking forward to everyone here. And I also think Scorpio Sky is going to win. I think once the Sting stuff is done with Darby Allin and whatnot, let's have Scorpio Sky get in there and actually win the title. I think it'd be great for him. Who do you think the mystery entrant is going to be? Do you
have I was informed yesterday in our chat that the mystery guy is going to be a new signee. Is this correct? It's not going to be somebody like Pac's not going to show up after the tag team thing and join the fray and win the match like we all wish he would. But it's gonna. So this is gonna be a new signee. Am I correct here?
I think that's the idea. They're bringing in someone new. Yes.
In that case, man, I got to be honest with you. I don't have a clue, Warren. I mean, somebody in the Flowman in the chat says Ethan Page.
That's the conventional wisdom.
Yeah.
Yes.
But I don't know. Do you have any ideas?
I'm going with Ethan Page. I think that's what makes the most sense as well. I think he's over with the crowd that likes that really with the core fan base of AEW. I think it's a smart addition, and yet here they are hiring another male wrestler.
Yeah, exactly. And hello to your better half, Kristen. Hello in the chat, Kristen.
Well, hang on, you're doing it wrong. You have to do it this way, Chris.
Okay, sorry.
Kristen Ashley, the first lady of the Mr. Warren Hayes show. Yeah.
Does he do that every time she joins the chat?
Yes.
Wow.
Yes. This is part of our prenup.
My God. Holy cow.
I also want to say hello to Tony of the Get the Tables podcast. Good to see you, man.
Tony's here? I didn't even see him. What's up, Tony?
Yes, he's here. He's absolutely here. So we're both going for Scorpio Sky here. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Thank you for the rendition. Hey, if you want to hear me sing, join the subscribe. And subscribe if you like to hear me sing. Hangman Adam Page versus Big Money Matt Hardy in the big money match. Winner receives the losers 2021 first quarter earnings. Speez, I'm going to go straight into this, and I've been consistent on this. I think that the Matt Hardy feud for Adam Page is beneath Adam Page. I don't think it's all that interesting. I think Page should be doing bigger, better stuff with bigger competitors. It keeps them occupied creatively. I think it's pretty interesting, but this feud does nothing for me.
It is absolutely beneath Adam Page, and I'm gonna go back to my story from earlier in the show about how I will always and forever be a fan of Thunder Rosa because she's got over with me big time with that Ring of Honor show that we got to work. The other person that got over with me big time was Hangman Adam Page, and I'm gonna tell you why.
Tell me why.
I said hello to him. He's a nice enough guy, so on and so forth. But after that show was over, and it's pretty much just the ring crew has started to come out because most of the fans are gone. We're starting to take things down. We're starting to tear down and so on and so forth. Adam Page stayed, I would venture to say it was at least an hour and a half after the show was over. And he signed every autograph. He took every picture, took every selfie. He shook every hand. That guy was the most fan-friendly wrestler that I have ever seen in a live wrestling show. And I'm talking about I go to a lot of the smaller indie shows here in Texas. And even the guys that are trying to get over with that crowd that go and say hi to everybody, he did. It was to the point to where, the guys that were there running the show had to say, Adam, you got to go back so we can finish tearing down and do our thing. But he was such a nice guy with the fans. They love him. And look, like you said, it looked like when AEW started that they were going to strap a rocket to Adam Page and he was going to be the guy and he was going to be, everybody said, well, is AEW going to be able to build new stars? Well, they sure as shit are. Look at what they're doing with Adam Page. He's already in the world title picture and he's going to be great. And I don't know what's happened to him. I don't particularly care for the drunkard angle. I memean, it's good for a few laughs here and there, but I even think that's kind of hokey to an extent. But yeah, I just there's something missing with Adam Page, and I don't know if it's because, and I'll ask your opinion on this, and people in the chat feel free to chime in as well. Is it because of something that Adam Page is not doing, or is it because of the position that AEW is putting him in? Because obviously something's not clicking if he's in this kind of shit.
Well, here's the thing. I think it's a question. I think this is more of a question of long-term booking. I think right now AEW wants to continue to focus on Kenny Omega at the top, and I'm okay with this. If you go back and watch AEW shows pre-COVID from, let's say late 2019 to right up until we had to shoot everything down. You go there, you listen to the audience react to this guy, and it is night and day as opposed to when they started. When they started with him, he had good reactions, but he wasn't quite getting over. To me, there was something missing when they were pushing him into the world title picture. Then they started letting him be a little looser, the whole I'm not sure I'm still part of the elite kind of stuff. I agree, the drinking thing, I think at some point he has to drop that, but it also makes sense to me in his character right now where he's looking for something. Maybe he's not living up to his own expectations, and he's drowning himself in alcohol a little bit. I think there's part of that development. But man, Adam Page, since they started that angle, since they started having him drink beer, from the audience and stuff like that, I think we've forgotten how over he got. He is so incredibly over. And I think he's still very much liked and protected in the minds of AEW's booking, because I know you're not a fan of the Dark Order, but it's a hell of an angle, man, and it is fucking over as well. It is really over. So technically,
Dark Order is over. What am I missing?
Dark Over is super over, man. Are you kidding me? John Silver is a star, man, because of everything that they do on BTE. That shit is over. They're putting, oh my God. No, you can look over at your pretend co-host. You can do that, but it's the truth. So to me, they're keeping Adam Page inside one of the hottest acts in the company. Like, to me right now, Matt Hardy is the odd man out in this. And I really do believe that they're still keeping Hangman in prominent things, but I think it even makes sense in Hangman's character development. It's like, look, I'm done with the elite stuff. I'm done with all of this. I just want to come in and wrestle. Like, I think right now he's like, we like to call him, he's the millennial cowboy, where he's sort of like brooding and moody, and he's like, who am I going to become? What is my path?
I don't want
to. Eventually, they're going to have to snap that. What's that?
Yeah. Look, he's had his moments.
Yeah.
Like, he had the promo when he had the stitches in his head. He was ripping the stitches out of his head, and we're getting to some cowboy shit and so on and so forth. So again, he's had his moments. I guess he's another one of those guys where I'm waiting for him to get to where. This is just my personal opinion. I'm waiting for him to get to where I think he can be. And granted, somebody was asking in the chat earlier on, they brought up a good question. You can't just say, well, so-and-so, they should be pushing Pac. Well, okay, that's fine. If you're going to push Pac, then you got to not push somebody else.
Sure.
There's 2 singles titles in AEW. So at most, there's maybe a half dozen guys that are involved in a feud for that particular title, or for those 2 titles combined at any given point. So if you're going to push somebody, you got to not push somebody else. So maybe what they're doing, and I think this is as good an opinion as any, as far as what you were saying, is just keeping Adam Page on, not so much on the shelf, but visible enough to where when the time comes for him to what seems like inevitably get the match with Kenny Omega that everybody seems to think is going to be, is going to happen. And Adam Page is going to be the first guy to kick out of the One Winged Angel. He's going to beat Kenny Omega, and he's going to win the AEW title.
He's going to be the second guy. Kota Ibushi kicked out of the One Winged Angel. That's something.
We've been talking about that on our show about protected finishers. and a one-winged angel. When did Kota Ibushi kick out of the one-winged angel?
Oh, years ago in DDT.
See, Silky hates Kota Ibushi because he loves...
Because he's too handsome? Is it because he's too handsome?
That guy's like almost 40 years old.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
Like 38 years old. It's absurd. Silky likes to say black don't crack. Holy cow, Kota Ibushi looks amazing. But anyway, he hates Kota Ibushi because he's a huge Jay White mark, and Kota Ibushi beat Jay White this year at Wrestle Kingdom, of course. So he hates Kota Ibushi. But I didn't know he kicked out of the One Wing Angel. That's great. But hey, look.
But I agree. Look, see, here's the thing. Like you said, they're not quite putting him on the shelf because he's still on TV. He's on TV all the time because they know he's over. People like Hangman for the reasons that I think you pointed out. Because I've heard the same stories where Hangman Page just hangs around fans and he shakes hands and he loves being around people because he understands if, these are the people who are going to get me booked. If people cheer when I come on TV, they're going to, or at a show, well, the promoter's going to want to have me back because I'm going to sell tickets for him. That's how it works, right? So he gets that. And I think he still does get it. Because, like Ted said in the chat, and you said it yourself, and Ted, I hope you subscribe to the channel and you come back to more Mr. Warren Hayes shows. He said, this is all leading up to Adam Page beating Kenny Omega next year, or I'd say even later this year, for the AEW Championship. And by God, man, if this is not the greatest story that they can tell right now in AEW, to circle back to Kenny Omega and Adam Page, once partners, but, sort of at odds now. If this isn't long-term storytelling, I don't know what it is. And I am a fan of that because we're not used to getting long-term storytelling in North America much. So I'm completely behind this.
So Adam Page gets the win is what we're saying.
I could definitely see the...
You're to pick Matt Hardy. You can't pick Matt Hardy here, Warren.
No, I don't think so. But I could see them give the win to Matt Hardy, but I think you protect Adam Page. I think you do. I think you...
Yes, absolutely.
I think you protect them.
Long-term storytelling, Adam Page needs to win everything between now and his match with Kenny Omega. He needs to beat everybody, and he needs to say, it's time for some cowboy shit at the top of the show here.
There you go.
I'm Kenny Omega. I'm coming for you. That's what needs to happen.
Team Taz, Brian Cage and Ricky Starks are going to be fighting in a street fight, Chris. They're going to be fighting the father and son team of Sting and Darby Allin in a street fight. It's supposed to be a cinematic match. Understandable. I don't think Sting in his 60s and with the history of injuries that he has can probably work. I don't think he can work a 15-minute match without some smoke and mirrors. Not a knock. I think this is just natural. And I don't think anyone wants to see Sting get injured. How do you feel about all Sting coming back to AEW? The whole shebang.
I think Sting latching on to Darby Allin, or Darby Allin latching on to Sting, however you want to say it, was great for both of those guys. I think that's a perfect spot for both of them.
Yeah.
A lot of people were speculating that might happen when Sting first signed, and it just makes sense. It makes sense because it keeps Sting in a program with a guy who's fresh, who's over with the crowd, that everybody likes, and you're putting him in tag team action, so he's not having to carry everything on his own, and so on and so forth. Now, as far as what they've done with Sting up until now, I don't know about you. I guess maybe since this is going to be a cinematic match, I can forgive this to a certain extent. But if it were me, and what's your take on this, and you guys in the chat chime in as well, I wouldn't have had Sting do anything with regard to taking bumps or going in the ring and doing his Stinger splash and all the old Sting moves that we've seen over the years. I wouldn't have had him do any of this before the pay-per-view. Because
I completely disagree. I thought...
Warren, you can't do it before the pay-per-view.
Yeah,
that's the selling point. I want to see the Stinger splash. I want to see, can Sting take a bump and not get carted out on a stretcher and die right there in the ring because he's 65 years old, 61, whatever he is. You You got to save that. That's a selling point for your pay. I've seen Sting do all the shit that he's going to do in this street fight before the pay-per-view even starts.
Here's the thing. I needed to see that he could take a bump. I needed to see some physicality. I needed to see that. And I'll tell you why. Because since Sting has signed to AEW, when did he sign? January? No, December, right? Last December. Something like that.
Somewhere around there.
He's been on TV. He's been on Dynamite every week. He has every week. And what has he been doing? How Sting in the ring tonight. Sting will be here live. Tony Schiavone interviews Sting. Sting complains about his food. Sting hangs around catering. Sting makes a phone call. Sting checks his stock options. Like week after week, it's Sting does this, but never anything involved. He shows up. There's the snow. He looks at Darby Allin. Darby Allin looks at him. And at some point I was like, okay, something has to happen. I need something, because right now you're just trotting out Sting. The couple of promos that he's cut, the one that he had with Cody that one time, fantastic. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying, old man, whatever. No. But at some point, I'm like, something has to happen, because there hasn't been any storyline bumps. This is one of the rare occasions to me that in AEW where I feel like we've been treading water. Like week after week, we're in the hamster wheel of Team Taz shows up, Sting shows up, and everyone goes away, you know?
Does Sting have to be on television every week?
That's another thing.
Because he's on the roster.
That's another thing. I don't think we needed Sting on TV every week.
Exactly.
Hey, we didn't get Kenny Omega last Wednesday on Dynamite, and he's in a pretty big match. I don't know if you've heard. We'll talk about it in a little bit. But we didn't even need to have Sting on TV week after week. I completely agree with that. But yet, I don't think he missed a single Wednesday. Even if it's through a taped segment, he's been there every single week. So, when he got powerbombed by Brian Cage, was like, fucking finally, yes! And I was surprised. I was like, oh shit, he will be able to take bumps. Now, to me, I'm more excited to see the cinematic match. Now I'm like, okay, what else? How far are they going to take this? Just how far is he ready to go? Because he didn't take a powerbomb from Ricky Starks.
No!
He took a powerbomb from a man who can't wear shirts.
Do you notice how Brian Cage wears the GMSI gear? You ever see those letters on his have you ever talked about this? You know what that stands for?
No, what does it stand for?
It stands for "Get My Shit In." Because people were used to give him shit about the fact that whenever you fight Brian Cage, he was going to get all his shit in no matter what. So he started selling gear with "Get My Shit In."
I like it. That's cool.
No, but here's the thing. You had Sting, because I don't know about you. I first of all, I agree with you. He did not need to be on television every single week. That was a mistake. And the reason that people were calling for him to finally take bumps or do something was because he was on television every week.
Exactly.
So don't put him on television every week, because, again, what's the big question that everybody was asking when Sting signed and we found out that he was actually going to wrestle? Can this guy take a bump and not be immediately paralyzed?
Yeah.
And so then when you have him take the bump and everybody freaked out, because like, oh shit, not only did he take a bump, but he took a big one.
Mm-hmm.
And then he's back next week like nothing happened. To me, at that point, Sting's just like another guy. It's like, okay, he's going to take a bunch of bumps and he's going to be fine.
Well,
and
what? You're going to have him do a stretcher job because he took a power bomb?
No. I'm gonna have him do a stretcher job because he took a power bomb and he's 61 years old. And then it's like, oh, is he even gonna make it back? Whoa, what Sting are we gonna see at the pay-per-view? Is he gonna be half a man? Is Darby Allin gonna have to take on this huge beast and Ricky Starks all by himself because Sting can barely walk because the right side of his body is completely limp from the power bomb that he took with Brian Cage? You got to do something with it. Don't just make him another.
Hang on a second. But then, do you really want oh, Sting is a frail old man? That's not the. I don't want to see that. That's exactly the point of why I wanted to see him take a bump. I'm like, okay, he can still go to a degree. I don't want that's the thing is that I understand the reality, but it's still pro wrestling, and I still want to believe that Sting can go. That Sting is still the guy who can take out the NWO all by himself. All 65 members of the NWO.
And I agree. But here's the thing. There's nothing wrong with asking the question, is Sting just a frail old man? And then in the pay-per-view, you have him come in and kick the ever-living teetotal shit out of Brian Cage and Ricky Starks. And then everybody goes, fucking Sting, yes, awesome. Now it's like Sting's going to come in and he's going to do the Stinger splash. And we go, oh shit, I just saw that last week on Dynamite. And he's going to do all that other shit. And you're like, I've already seen it at this point.
I'll meet you halfway. I completely agree with that. If they hadn't put him on TV week after week. And I think that's the main, the main problem, because I myself was at a point where I'm like, I love Sting. Don't get me wrong, but something has to happen. This is boring. I'm bored now because it's the same thing week after week.
That's right. They somehow managed to make Sting boring in a relatively short period of time. I agree with you 100% on that.
Chris, the thing where Sting is with Team Tabs last week and Darby ziplining in with the fucking skateboard. I was like, this, for me, this is the grandiose absurdity of pro wrestling, and I love it.
That's what it was. That's the perfect.
I loved it. It was so good. I was like, yes, this is it. This is how ridiculous I love my pro wrestling at times. It was wonderful. Ziplining with a skateboard and he starts wailing on people. It's great shit.
Yes. Speaking of grandiose absurdity, can we take a quick sidestep? How good was Shaq on Wednesday? Did you enjoy Shaquille O'Neal?
There was no reason for that match to be as fun as it was.
And it was a blast. I loved watching Shaquille O'Neal. It was awesome. Anyway, I had to get that in there. I think props to Shaq. I thought he was tremendous.
It was a lot of fun. It really was a lot of fun.
Yeah, a lot of that you got to give to Cody because Cody sold it, made him look like a fucking Hall of Famer. But that was a lot of fun. It was great. Yeah, that's the grandiose absurdity we're talking about. Yep. Some 7'2", 350-pound, out of shape former NBA guy comes in and looks like a beast.
Sometimes you need these matches just to remind ourselves that this is pro wrestling. And,
that's right.
And everyone is playing pretend. Sometimes you just need that to just remind you, this is what I'm watching right now. I will add, in this whole feud, I think Taz carried all of this feud moving forward in his promos, his promo work, the chip on his shoulder week after week. I think Taz is the guy who sold me a ticket to this feud to get excited for this match. He's been nothing but entertaining and great. I love this is the Taz we like, who's just mad at everything, just seems a miserable old man. I love it. I absolutely love it.
And I like how he says Dorby all the time. It's great.
Who do you think wins here?
Lose. Team Taz is going to lose. Sting and Darby Allin get the win. That's my pick.
I think the opposite would be extremely strange unless they want to stretch this feud out. But look, I just go with the safe bet. Give us the feel-good ending. Sting and Darby Allin win.
There you go.
What else do we got? The Young Bucks versus Chris Jericho and MJF for the AEW World Tag Team Championship. Excuse me. Is this just going to be the service, the match that is going to service the split of the Inner Circle or the expulsion of Chris Jericho? to me, this all feels more like a storyline than a match I really should get involved in. You know what I mean? If that makes sense.
Yeah, I kind of agree. And, we've been heading in that direction for a long time. Obviously, we saw the bit with Sammy Guevara, the inner circle starting to crumble from the inside. And it seems like everybody is sort of waiting for MJF to step up and take over and Chris Jericho to be banished. So I'm kind of with you. I think we're headed in that direction. I don't know that this. I'll say this. I'm a big MJF guy. I think he's great. I really enjoy MJF. I mean, he doesn't have a weakness in his game. And as good as MJF and Jericho are, I don't know that they're so good that it seems like to me they can make anybody look good. Mm-hmm. But in terms of what the AEW crowd likes and what the AEW crowd is used to, I'm not so sure that Chris Jericho and MJF are the guys to get a great kind of match out of the Young Bucks. That being said, I really think that this could be a different match for the Young Bucks in that I don't think it's going to be one that goes 100 miles an hour. Like you would expect if you saw the Young Bucks and the Lucha Brothers, you would expect just boom, 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 boom all over the place. I'm not the world's biggest Young Bucks fan, but I think when they're in the ring with certain people, they show you that, look, they're not just a bunch of spot monkeys. When they're in the ring with the right guys, they can put on a good, solid wrestling match. And I think that this is going to be one where people come out of it, people like me who aren't necessarily a fan of the Young Bucks style are going to come out of it and say, well, that was actually a really good match. So I think this could be one of the better Young Bucks matches that we've seen. I still think they're going to win. I think, like you said, this is more for storyline purposes, but I'm interested to see those guys get in the ring and work with a couple of guys like MJF and Jericho that can really get the best out of their opponents. I think it's going to be an entertaining match.
That use a lot of psychology in their matches. That's one of the trademarks with Jericho and MJF in both their matches. They rely a lot on in-ring psychology. So so when you don't rely on the crazy, triple jump off the top rope through the other guy's arms, it's like, that's the kind of thing that you, and I'm in complete agreement with you. I think this is one of the Young Bucks matches that I'm going to prefer. I'm not crazy about their matches with the Lucha Brothers, for instance, or even the match that they had with Top Flight a few weeks ago. I'm like, it's fine, but it's not for me, Right. But put them in the ring with FTR. That fucking ruled. You put them in the ring with Kenny Omega and Adam Page. That was fantastic as well. When they have to work a more grounded style, I think the Young Bucks really, really do shine and show how versatile they really are. Then they can start shutting up their critics and people, spot monkeys. Yeah, but look at this match here. Sure, they're gonna do some high flying stuff. Of course, that's their brand.
That's what the crowd wants to see.
And ultimately, that's what the crowd wants to see. I completely agree. So you said you think the Young Bucks are going to win. I agree too. I even think Sammy Guevara is going to cost the match. He's going to force MJF. He's going to make MJF get pinned in this match.
Right. Okay.
I think Sammy Guevara is coming back. Hikaru Shida, the AEW Women's Champion, is going to be taking on Ryo Mizunami, the winner of the AEW Women's Eliminator Tournament. Now, early on in our show, in our broadcast, Speez, you said, I'm excited to talk about the women's tournament. The floor is yours. Go right ahead. How do you feel about it?
Well, I'll say this. I love Thunder Rosa. I was pulling for Thunder Rosa to come out of that U.S. bracket. I love Britt Baker as a heel. I wouldn't complain to Britt Baker coming out of the U.S. bracket. All that being said, Nyla Rose is a beast. Nyla Rose has spots where she's booked like a beast, and then she has spots where she's eating pins to Riho and girls half her size. So I don't get it. That being said, I'm going to tell you this much. I love the fact that fans of Joshi wrestling on this side of the pond are getting to see Joshi wrestlers in a big American pay-per-view. Good for them. That's nice and all. But I'm gonna tell you, Warren, if I want to watch Joshi wrestling, I'll watch Joshi wrestling on a Japanese promotion somewhere like Stardom. I don't have to see it on AEW. There's no reason whatsoever that Ryu Mizunami, and I don't know this gal. That's the first time I've ever seen her match. But did you watch the match on Wednesday between her and Nyla Rose?
Yes.
Hikaru Shida is going to have to shoot Ryu Mizunami with a bazooka to pin this girl because she kicked out of that flying knee off the top rope that usually is the finisher for Nyla Rose.
Which I fucking hate, by the way. I hate that move so much.
Gave her a superplex, and she kicked out of that too. I mean, it's just completely insane, and that's what happens with that's what turned me off to Riho. Riho is like, again, she's like Road Warrior Riho. You hit her with every move in the book, and she kicks out of it, and that kind of stuff drives me completely insane. So I'm just gonna say, I don't think Shida's gonna lose this because honestly, I don't pay enough attention to the goings-on backstage and whether or not they've actually signed Ryu Mizunami to some kind of long-term contract. I mean, it's probably just a one-shot thing where she comes over and maybe she'll be back occasionally or whatever. But because she kicks out of everything in the world, how can I not pick her to win this match? And also, I'm going to say another thing. Hikaru Shida, I'm setting the over-under at Hikaru Shida running knee strikes at 4.5. Are you taking the over? Or are you taking the under, Warren Hayes? I'm putting you on the spot right now. Running knee strikes from Hikaru Shida, 4.5.
I'm going over. I love me a knee strike. Here's the thing.
It's all the time. It's crazy. It's crazy.
But I'm a sucker for a good running knee strike. Not gonna lie. The DGMC in the chat says I have 8. So there you go.
Hammer the over.
Here's the thing, and I understand where you're going with Rio, but Rio, as far as Joshi wrestling, you've seen the other women in this tournament. Did you? If you've watched the Japanese bracket, Maki Ito and Veni, and these are all and Mesagura. These are petite women, right?
Yes.
As far as Joshi wrestlers go, Rio is a hoss. She's a slapper. She's bigger. She's stronger. She's meatier. She's not a Nyla Rose. Of course, but she's one where you're like, okay, she's the stronger of this group. It ultimately, you look at, I had picked Yuka Sakazaki to win because Yuka's very well. My brackets were completely busted. My finals were Britt Baker versus Yuka Sakazaki. That was, because there was history, and I thought Britt Baker was going to win because I was like, okay, this is the moment you pulled the trigger on the Britt Baker World Championship run. This is where you do it right here, but apparently not.
Yes.
But I wasn't familiar all that much with Mizunami's work. I was surprised, and I'm super interested. This is a woman who in an interview recently said that before she got the call to be in the AEW tournament, she was contemplating retiring. She was like, my career's going nowhere. I'm kind of done. So for her, this is an international stage that she didn't expect she was going to get again, because she has wrestled in AEW previously before Dynamite started.
Right.
So she was like, okay, well, maybe I still have some gas in here. Maybe I should still continue. So she has a lot to prove. She's wrestled Shida in the past. From what I understand, they're friends. So I think they're both going to give that little extra something so that both women look like $1,000 here. And I'll tell you, Speez, you know when this match was sold for me? Do you know when they sold this match for me?
Tell me.
When Mizunami wins the tournament last Wednesday, and they give and Shida comes in with the cup, and they're standing across from each other, and they shake each other's hand, and Rio just forearms Rio Shida, and Shida's like, oh yeah, boom, boom, and they start strong styling each other in the ring, while Shida is in stiletto heels, mind you. I'm like, there you go. I'm sold. I want this match. Look at them. They're wailing on each other. And I love me my New Japan. This is the kind of shit that I dig. I love these sets where they're like just wailing on each other with forearms. I'm like, good. I'm sold. Bring me this match. I'm unusually stoked for a match that I did not pick. As far as tournament results go, this was not the match that I was expecting, but I'm excited to see it.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. I mean, look, I'm more than happy to be proven wrong. You get these two in the ring together, and obviously if they're familiar with each other, we've seen how that can be a huge benefit when you've got two wrestlers who are familiar with each other, who are probably maybe a little bit more likely to take some liberties with each other, make it look more realistic, which is what I'm a huge fan of. And so, look, I'm all for these two surprising me.
I'll tell you one thing.
Be surprised, but I will be pleasantly surprised nonetheless, and will happily, give a large standing ovation to those two ladies if they prove me wrong.
If Maki Ito would have won, you know who I'm talking about? Maki Ito?
I know. Maki, what is she, the queen of shit or whatever she said on Twitter?
You'd be raging right now, I think. Because that's exactly what she's a quintessential Joshi wrestler, but with an edge, right? Because she goes around and she motherfuckers, and she just
exactly.
She swears uncontrollably, and she calls everyone simps. She's fantastic. But I mean, you would have been like, and the thing is that as far as her in-ring goes, she's good, but she's not as good as some of the other women that are out there. She just has this enormous personality with the baby doll dress and all of that stuff. I think it would have been a whole different thing. But I think we're in agreement. Shida's going to retain here.
No, I'm going with Ryu Mizunami because Shida's bazookas are not legal in the match as far as I'm concerned.
Shida is Bret Hart. Chris, Shida is Bret Hart. And I will maintain this this is a hill I'm ready to die on. Maybe she kicks out of everything, but if Shida starts a ground game, gets some submissions in there, maybe Mizunami's going to be in trouble.
Hey, I will say this, and I give props where props are due. During this whole pandemic thing, there were a couple of wrestlers on each show that really stepped up and carried the torch for their particular companies as far as weekly television went. And on the women's side in AEW, it was Hikaru Shida. And for as many flaws as that division has had over its, since its inception, Hikaru Shida, during her run as champion, has done a really rock solid job. She's been there. She's put on, good matches. Mm-hmm. And that's all you can ask for. And I think she should be, if nothing else, she definitely has my respect for what she was able to do, given a really tough time for the wrestling business as a whole. She really held down that division and did a lot to keep it going when there weren't a lot of people available.
Then there's the big one. The AEW World Championship match will be defended. Kenny Omega, the champion, against challenger Jon Moxley in an exploding barbed wire death match.
I still can't believe we're saying that.
It's been such a long time. Have you ever watched any FMW matches from the day? Hayabusa, Onita. Have you watched any of that shit, Chris?
I've seen some.
Terry Funk, Mick Foley,
Yeah, I've seen. I watched I watched a couple of the Terry Funk matches. I've seen the exploding ring match where the ring didn't explode at the end, and that was kind of a big letdown. His matches with Cactus Jack. And then of course I've seen, clips from different guys here and there. Some of that stuff just goes way too far. I mean, I'm all for the pageantry of sparks flying and the barbed wire thing I can even get behind to a certain extent. I know that turns some people off. I saw some clip a while back where they had built some kind of contraption that you would think you'd see in a Saw movie where it was like a bunch of blades, like machetes or something, or knives. And this dude took a back bump on it and he gets up and he looks like his back is all filleted and everything. And the crowd's like, oh, like people are insane. That's just, okay, that's too far. But yeah, look, I morbid curiosity has me looking forward to this thing just because it's going to be beautiful. It's either going to be a beautiful train wreck or it's going to be beautiful, bloody, gory, old school, kick the shit out of each other wrestling match. And either way, I'm interested to see what happens.
The grandiose absurdity of pro wrestling is what we were saying earlier, right?
Exactly. Yes.
I mean, this is it. Yeah, but look, I'm not a deathmatch guy. There's a lot of people, when a lot of a lot of people that I chat with, and they enjoy GCW quite a bit, especially when the death matches come out and they start hitting each other with, light tubes and shit. I'm not into that shit. It doesn't turn me on. It was the same thing in ECW back in the day when, you'd have fucking Axel Rotten just grab a shard of glass and start carving open a guy. That doesn't do anything for me. Okay.
No.
The exploding match is a bit of a different ball game because it's so ridiculous.
Yeah.
The referees in the hazmat suits, the bomb sirens, and I'm like, my God. And then when they start evolving the concept, you were talking about the machetes or the saw blades, whatever. Then they start putting pools of water filled with piranhas around the ring. You're like,
you told me about that last night. I was like, what?
It's wild. Like the shit that they do is crazy. Onita was a madman, but what a rock star at the same time. And I mean, it's all these things that come together, and that's why they had him out on AEW to cut a promo to hype the match. It's a shame that he can't be there. I think it would have been awesome for him to referee this. I think it's going to be Bryce Remsburg. I think he tweeted out, can you believe small, tiny, affable, smiling Bryce Remsburg is going to be the referee for this absolute, vile and, violent match. I'll tell you what I'm most curious about, because I am familiar with with FMW stuff. I wouldn't say it's my favorite shit in the world, but I've watched it. I know what it's about. I'm curious to see how far they're going to go.
Yeah.
Because the FMW shit, Onita versus Terry Funk, my man, is not a pretty sight. These guys finished and they were maimed. So I'm curious to see how far they're willing to go with this. But knowing guys like Jon Moxley, who doesn't give a shit.
Yeah, see, to me, the question to me is how far is Omega willing to go? And,
I'm not worried. Kenny is a wrestling mark. Like, he loves wrestling, and I think he's willing to do what it takes. He wouldn't have agreed to this, I don't think, if he was going to half-ass it. I really don't.
No, I agree. I mean, listen, Kenny Omega has taken some of the most insane bumps just in regular wrestling. I still contend that one of the biggest pops I've ever had in a modern wrestling match was when he took the backdrop over the ropes outside the ring through the table against Okada. And my mind was completely blown. That was insane. So, I mean, he's shown a willingness to do this kind of thing. We'll see. Did I hear correctly that they've added the stipulation that at the end, what is it, at 30 minutes, the ring is going to explode one way or another?
Did they add that? Oh, so we're going to get the sirens. We're going to get the bomb siren.
Yeah, I think they said, somebody in our chat said it yesterday. Yes. That they've added the exploding ring stipulation. So
fantastic.
We'll see.
Oh my God, man, I just got shivers thinking about it. Oh my God. Now, I think we're both in agreement. This is thinking past this match here, and I'm pretty sure you and I are going to be on the same level as this. You got to keep these guys off TV for a few weeks, right? They have to sell these injuries, right?
I hope so. I would hope so. Yes.
Don't put them immediately back into matches, or at least, if you trot them out, they're taped up and, they're holding their ribs.
Yes. Yeah, exactly.
But they have to sell these injuries. So who do you got? Do you think Kenny retains, or do you think Mox wins?
I mean, everything points to this being Moxley's type of match and Moxley winning. But just from a booking perspective, I don't know that makes sense. So, I mean, I'm going to go with Omega here, although, again, it's I think this becomes the story that they're telling anyway, is that Omega is so good that he can not only beat Jon Moxley, but beat Jon Moxley on his own field, under his own set of rules, and and beat him in the type of match where Moxley should have won. So again, I think it's another step towards building up Kenny Omega. And I'll be honest with you, not being the world's biggest Kenny Omega fan, although I'm not going to kill him like some other people do. The guy's crazy athletic. He does a lot of amazing shit. The way that they're building him up, by regardless of what you think of this match, to put him in this match against Jon Moxley, like I said, on his turf, for him to beat Jon Moxley on his turf and retain the title does a lot to build Omega up as a champion. So I think that's where we go. I think Omega gets the win.
I think Omega gets the win as well. I think it's too soon to take the title off. I think there's still a lot of cross promotion that they want to do with other companies. That Forbidden Door stuff. I think Kenny Omega is your guy to do that. And honestly, I think you keep Jon Moxley off of TV for a few months. His wife is pregnant, and bring him. This is one thing, a constant criticism that I have with WWE is that sometimes, you can take someone off TV, one of your top guys, take them off for a month, a couple of weeks, and then you bring them back and we get excited to see them again. Like when Becky Lynch is going to come back. Christ, we're going to be excited to see Becky Lynch come back. Yes. We're going to be happy to see her. It's that kind of stuff, And I think they can do that with Moxley very, very safely, and then bring him back, and he's going to be right back at the top. And then push back while Moxley's gone.
Out loud. I mean, come on. Yeah. It's very upsetting. He's my guy, for crying out loud. I mean, I've been a Pac Mark since I came back to watching wrestling 6 or 7 years ago.
Fantastic.
And I saw this guy. It's just tremendous. Everything about him is great. I don't understand why Ricochet doesn't get pushed in WWE. He doesn't have the promo thing going for him, but he sells his ass off. He knows what he's doing. He's the flippy guy, as he likes to say. Pac's the other guy.
I don't understand how you have a promotion, and you have Ricochet on your roster and you don't push that guy to the moon. I do not understand.
I don't get it either. I'm with you on
that. To wrap this up, I want to say hello to Pablo B23, who joined us in the chat. Thank you very much for the kind words at the same time. And will also lead us into the final question. Paul White, the big show. No BS. No more BS.
We bringing up that BS here on the show.
He is supposed to bring us a Hall of Fame caliber worthy signing at AEW this week. I like this shit. I love this kind of shit where everyone starts speculating who's it going to be. I could do this for months. Who do you think is going to be the big Hall of Fame caliber mystery signing that Paul White is going to bring out this Sunday?
Here's what I hope. I hope, and this is highly unlikely, I think, but I hope it's a guy that can still go in the ring. Mm-hmm. That it's a guy that's, if he's Hall of Fame caliber, it probably means he's been around for a while. He's done a lot of great things. But I hope it's still a guy that can go in and deliver some matches. I said on our show last night, give me somebody under the age of 40 that's still got something left in the tank so that I could be excited about it. You look at the Hall of Fame caliber talent under the age of 40 that's available out there, and it's a pretty short, if non-existent list. I mean, it's a very short list. So I don't think we're going to get that. like I've seen a lot of names kicked around: Christian, Kurt Angle, Rob Van Dam, and so on. Your guess is as good as mine, to be honest with you. I think Kurt Angle makes sense. It's assuming that he doesn't have some kind of contract that I'm unaware of.
No, he's been fired from WWE.
I thought so.
They fired him.
So yeah, to me, Kurt Angle makes sense. But again, I'm hoping that it's somebody. Look, I'm one of the guys that likes to watch the world burn. So give me Brock Lesnar in AEW just so I can watch the world burn, because I think it would be so much fun to see people who have shit on Brock Lesnar for years come around and say, I can't wait to see Brock and Kenny Omega or whatever. I'm a huge Brock guy. I think Brock is the last of a dying breed in that he just gets it. He is the gimmick. He is that guy. And he's one of the last few remaining true badasses. And I buy everything that Brock Lesnar does.
Yes.
I buy everything about his personality. I buy everything about his in-ring work.
He's no Riho. He's not a Riho.
No, he's not. Exactly. So anyway, I think something like that would be great. I don't think it's going to happen. If I had to pick somebody, I think Kurt Angle makes sense.
I think Kurt Angle makes a lot of sense because we had Conrad Thompson, right? On AEW just last week, and Eric, he trotted out his cavalcade of podcast stars, because Conrad, he has the JR, he has Arn, he's got Eric Bischoff, and recently Kurt.
And Bruce Pritchard, is he still doing the Bruce Pritchard thing?
He's still doing the Bruce Pritchard thing as well. So, he's still all over the place. To me, that it's kind of the one that makes the most sense. Tony Khan said it's going to be one of his favorite wrestlers of all time. One of his favorites of all time. And, I think on his Mount Rushmore, he's talked about Ric Flair. It's not going to be Ric Flair, but he's also talked about Bret Hart. So, Bret doesn't give a fuck about Vince. That's fine. But you know what? I hadn't thought about the Brock thing. And I don't think it's plausible. But
I don't
also, either. It also is, because Brock is another guy who doesn't give a fuck.
No. Brock's no secret of the fact that he's in it for the money.
Yeah.
And let's face it, Tony Khan's got, his old man at least, has got the money to toss around. So.
But honestly, I'll tell you one thing. If Brock shows up on Sunday, I need someone to go check on Vince McMahon, because that just might be the push, little shove that Vince just goes, okay, I'm done. That's it.
Yeah. I mean, it would be amazing. But hey, look, props to them. It's a signing. For all we know, they're signing somebody to come on and do commentary. And then in a month from now, we're not really going to give a shit.
I mean,
but
the name that Mauro Ranallo's been thrown around. I mean, they are. Listen, here's the thing, and this is why I think that Mauro. We're talking about this way too much, I think, but it's still really fun. I really like this shit.
I love it. Exactly.
The Mauro Ranallo stuff makes sense to me. They're starting up a new show, right? Evolution, evolve, not evolve. Extradition. What is it? But there's
the new AEW show.
The new AEW show. And Tony Schiavone's supposed to be on it, and so is supposed to be the Big Show, Paul White. But Tony Schiavone has said in the past, since signing with AEW, he said, look, I am glad that I'm not carrying the show. It's one of the things that got me, that soured me on wrestling, having to carry a weekly play-by-play. I love the position I'm in, doing some color, JR, Excalibur taking the heavy load. I'm fine. I'm happy. So, does Tony Schiavone go to the new show to do the play-by-play? Well, they don't have it on. Maybe, it's entirely plausible to me that he's like, I don't want to do play-by-play. Do you put Paul White on play-by-play? I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Mauro Ranallo, man. A guy who lives in Florida. He did NXT towards the end because he didn't have to travel. It suited him. He was happy about it. A guy who knows the product. He understands wrestling.
but he's not one of Tony Khan's favorite wrestlers of all time.
That's true.
So they got that going for him. Elevation. True. Thank you, Flo Man. It's the name of the new AEW show that we couldn't think of. One last thing on this. People in our chat last night were speculating, could it be somebody from New Japan?
Sure.
Could it be, and the name that got floated out there was Okada. And I don't know Okada's contract situation, so I don't know.
Well,
would it be completely mind-blowing or out of the realm of possibility that it's somebody like an Okada who shows up and you're like, or maybe one of the older guys that's been around New Japan for a long time, that's coming to the end of his run over there, and he comes over to the States for to do something over here.
I was trying to think about what Japanese like big name stars were in North America or in the United States anyway. And there was none that were coming to mind. If we were in another context, outside of the travel restrictions, I'd say, yeah, maybe even Hiroshi Tanahashi at this point,
Yeah, that's what Silky mentioned as well, yeah.
Tanahashi and Chris Jericho, they're pals. They get along well. But Okada wrestled this week. If you were to travel to the United States, there's a 2-week quarantine, right? If I'm not mistaken, when you pop off a plane.
I believe so, yes.
So Okada wrestled this morning, come to think of it. So he's probably not going to be there. And even if he did fly in, he can't show up, right? He can't physically be there. Same thing with Tanahashi. Tanahashi's in the New Japan Cup. He's going to be wrestling in a couple of days.
Yes.
So honestly, I think just because of the logistics, the New Japan speculation wouldn't quite make sense. And Okada's injured. Okada's hurt. He's wrestling.
Fair enough. But hey, they got us talking about it. So again, props to them.
Oh man, I love that shit. I love this shit so much. And I know people are like, they're super serious about it. And I'm like, nah, let's just goof the fuck off. I'm okay with this. I love it.
Exactly.
You expect this show to be a good one, Chris? Thumbs up, thumbs in the middle, thumbs down?
It's a thumbs in the middle for me. I think there are a couple of listen, I'm a huge proponent for one of the matches that I loved from the other company for years was when they opened WrestleMania with the ladder match.
Sure.
I always thought that was a lot of fun. Those were so good. And given the athletes that you have in this one, I think that match could be a lot of fun. Very much looking forward to see what happens in the main event. Again, it's going to be beautiful. It's either going to be beautifully awful or beautifully great. So one way or another, that's going to be good. And again, we talked about, what do we get a different kind of match out of the Young Bucks? What do we see from Sting? What's he got left in the tank? There's a lot of things that I'll tell you this much. Going into the card, I think there's a lot more up in the air in this card than there have been in a lot of recent cards. There's a lot of potential for really, really fun, really good shit in this card. So I'm very much looking forward to it, man.
I think it should be fun. I think it's a card that's carried by a couple of matches. I think this is going to, which is normal, right? You start up a pay-per-view, you always have these big matches where it's like, oh yeah, this is what I'm tuning in to see. I've got at least 3 of them that I'm really, really excited to watch. The others are all like curiosity. I'm excited to see how it's going to go. So, yeah, I think it should be a good time. I'm fully expecting it. We almost went 2 hours on this, Chris.
Go imagine that.
Imagine us talking too much.
Exactly. Folks, if you haven't hit the thumbs up button, hit the thumbs up button for crying out loud and help out Mr. Warren Hayes here on the YouTubes. It's one of our favorite guys.
Well, and you guys are I've always been one of my favorites as well. I still think I've been on the record. I even told you this on your show. You guys have one of the most fan-friendly, interactive shows out there. I still remember when you guys started the call-ins with the phone, and I'm like, I can call in, not through Skype or, download this talk application. Now I can pick up my phone and dial and call in like on a radio show. I was like, this is fantastic. You guys are great. Let the people know, Chris, where they can listen and follow you and Silky on the internet.
Link is right there up on the screen, twitch.tv/Speez Benchmark. You'll be seeing me alongside Silky Baines, the benchmark of professional wrestling, every Tuesday and Friday night, 10 p.m. Eastern. That's 9 o'clock for those of you in the Central Time Zone. Check us out. We always have a good time, a lot of fun, a lot of good people in the chats. And we do it every Tuesday after Impact, every Friday after SmackDown. So come on over and chat some wrestling with us. We'd welcome you guys. And Warren Hayes, it's always a pleasure to be here. Always a pleasure to catch up with you.
Yes.
And we're getting you back on the show soon.
I'm excited.
We're gonna have to do it. We'll do it for a WrestleMania preview or something along those lines. But man, an absolute blast being here with you. And thanks to all the folks in the chat, even the ones who don't disagree with me, or do disagree with me and try to tell me that the Dark Order is over and that Adam Page should be involved with those clowns, or that PAC shouldn't be pushed, which should be pushed to the moon. But anyway, I enjoyed it. I always have a blast, and thanks for the opportunity to come and talk some wrestling with you, Warren.
It was a great time, and I'm really glad that we found out that you dislike fun. That I mean, that's a great way to end.
That's me. That's it.
I really appreciate it, Chris, and it's been too long since we had the opportunity to do this again. I'm really glad that you accepted to come on again. It's such a pleasure to have you. Thank you so much, man. It'll be a pleasure to chat with you soon again. For the rest of y'all, I hope you enjoy the rest of your weekend. Do subscribe if you're popping in for the first time. I would appreciate it. Come back as well once the comments are unlocked. Let's continue the conversation. Drop some thoughts in the comments. Who you think is going to win? Who's winning these matches? Who do you think is going to be the big signing? Let's go on record. Let's have a good time. Let's continue this conversation here or on the Mr. Warren Hayes Discord. The link is in the description. The links to all of Speez and Benchmark's stuff on the internet is in the description as well. Thank you all very much for joining us live here this morning. Thank you for watching.